the second thing I did was a little bit more difficult. Changing my mind to make a decision, that was fairly easy. The second thing was I realized that I had to eat the frog. Some of you may have heard that phrase. I think it's Brian Tracy who has a book called Eat the Frog. Basically what it means is you need to tackle the thing that you don't want to do the most. And for me, and from a diet point of view, that was hunger. Now, who's been on various, like, crazy diets? Anybody? Probably everybody at one point. You know, and the diets all say, well, if you eat just grapefruit, you won't be hungry. Well, or if you just eat bacon and roast beef, and you won't be hungry. They lied. You're going to be hungry. That's life. I had to figure out how to tackle hunger. So what I did was I started looking at how I get hungry and when I get hungry. And what I found was that I would I'd go and usually when I ate till like really full, like Thanksgiving full. Okay? You can imagine how the 50 pounds, so Thanksgiving full. Now on the other side, I would, when I was hungry, I mean, I was really hungry. I mean, like Donner Party type hungry, you know. Keep your hands and feet away from Dave. Okay? Really hungry. Okay? Now that was the range. And so I was going super hungry to Thanksgiving full. All of that's a lot of food to go from there to there. So it starts, okay, I've got to be more kind of this range and not get super hungry. And hopefully that'll prevent me from getting super full. What I found was that there are certain foods that make me more hungry. For example, sugary foods, candies, some fruits, and the technical term is it's a glycemic index in terms of how sugary a food is. And if I eat something like that, very shortly I will be more hungry. I said, okay, that's not what I want. So I changed it, ate a few more or less of that. Okay, cool. So I'm not getting quite as hungry. Because I'm not quite as hungry, and if I'm eating, I don't feel like I have to go and fill up all the, Thanksgiving full. So just by making a slight little change, I'm able to change kind of how hungry I am. Another thing I've also found is if I eat smaller meals that more often, then that keeps me from getting extra hungry. But it's also I'm not eating to super full either because they're small meals. So again, by eating it this much, that my stomach has adapted to it. And again, when now if I were to try to get to Thanksgiving full, it wouldn't be way over here. It would be just a little bit over here. So I think my stomach probably has shrunk a little bit. And I've started to manage and control it. So the key is to figure out what it is that's the hardest thing that you're facing and tackle. Because that's where you're going to have the biggest impact in terms of success. Now, the third thing, the last thing I want to leave you with, is the key long-term for success. And I mentioned earlier that I found out that there were some foods that made me hungrier. I also kind of came up with some ideas, some small changes that would improve my diet or make me healthier. One, for example, was I used to eat very late at night, like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and what made me discover it was that I'd wake up in the morning and I wouldn't be hungry. I'm thinking, I've just slept for 8 hours. Something's not right there. After you sleep for 8 hours, you ought to be hungry, at least a little bit. And sometimes not even till lunchtime. So I said, okay, I'm not going to eat late at night. Just so you know, my meal of choice was pizza. Full one of those. And so, but the key was, I figured it was a small change. I figured if I was hungry when I went to sleep, if I was really tired, I'd fall asleep. I wasn't worried about, staying up all night just because I hadn't had my pizza. So I made that small change, and it helped. The next morning I was hungry, but it was manageable hungry. It's like waking up and you're hungry. That's normal. What I also did was I started making other small changes. I used to have at least a venti chai latte and a McDonald's sweet tea. Probably, those are my two drinks of choice prior to making the change. Now my standard drink is water. And pretty much that's that's what the thin person does. Again, it's the identity. But it was a small change. Right, I'll do it. So what I've done is I've found a whole number of small changes. I'm putting together a book that is 101 small changes that you can make. And if you'd like, we'll pass around a thing and put your email address on it. I will send you the electronic version of it when I get it done and send it out. But the key is the small changes were easy to do. I looked at the small change, I can do that. I did it. There's another small change, I can do that. And they weren't all at once, they were over time, but each small change made sense. I can do that. So, the question I have for you is there something that you need to change your identity? Is there something that you need to tackle? A frog you need to eat? Is there some small changes that you can make starting right now that would have an incredible impact on your life? I can't answer that for you. But I can tell you, these things that I just explained help me put down that weight. I've lost over 50 pounds since the beginning of this year. Well, actually, like 150 if you count my ex-wife. But seriously, the choice is yours. You decide, it's your mind.